Everyone called me paranoid. They said it was just cold feet, but I followed him 1 week before the wedding into the woods. I watched him dig something up, a box. Inside, my childhood diary, and the ring he gave my dead sister. The zipper wouldn't go up, not because the dress didn't fit, it did. It fit perfectly. It was everything I asked for, ivory lace, low-back, scalloped train, but I couldn't stop moving. My feet kept pacing the length of the fitting room like they had somewhere better to be. My hands were cold, clenched, restless. The mirror caught me from every angle. I should have looked like a bride. I looked like someone being chased. There was a knock outside the curtain. "Everything okay in there?" the consultant asked in her rehearsed sweetness. I didn't answer right away, just stared at myself in the mirror, not at the dress, at my face, the expression I didn't recognize. This was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. My mom told me so this morning over coffee, her eyes all soft. "It's just cold feet, Sam. Jess texted, 'You always overthink things. He's amazing. You're safe. Just breathe.'" And Finn, my fiancé, had kissed my forehead on the way out and whispered, "Don't spiral, sweetheart. Everything's perfect." I didn't feel scared. I felt watched. I zipped the dress up the rest of the way. My fingers were trembling, but not from nerves. Not really. I stepped out into the fitting area. My mom's breath caught. "Oh, Sam." Jess beamed, "You're glowing." The consultant circled me like she was observing a sculpture. Absolutely stunning. The neckline's perfect. I stood still while they admired me, while they smiled and clapped and fussed with my train. But my eyes drifted past them toward the window. For a second, I thought I saw something. A figure near the street. Someone watching. But when I looked again, nothing, just glass and sky. I smiled, I lied. It's perfect. They hadn't said Clara's name in months. Not at dinner, not on holidays. Not when we lit candles last year on her birthday and no one made eye contact. But tonight, my dad said it like it had never been gone. "You still miss Clara, don't you?" he asked, right after passing the mashed potatoes. Like he was asking about the weather. Like grief could be boxed up and brought to the table without choking anyone. My fork paused midair. No one else moved. My mom pressed her napkin into her lap and didn't look up. Jess, sitting across from me, froze with her wine glass halfway to her lips. And Finn reached for my hand under the table, fingers brushing mine gently, like he wanted credit for the thoughtfulness. I didn't take it. My dad kept talking, softer now. "I still expect her to walk through that door sometimes, especially with all this wedding planning. Makes it feel like she's still here." No one corrected him. No one reminded him that Clara hadn't been in this house, or on this earth, for nearly 4 years. No one pointed out that the wedding wasn't bringing her back, especially not me. Because I couldn't trust what I'd say if I opened my mouth. Jess cleared her throat. "The florist said the roses are in early, ivory with just a little eucalyptus. Classic, but not too fussy." My mom nodded quickly, too quickly. "Yes, that's lovely, let's go with that." I stared at my plate. My appetite was gone, but I could feel Finn still watching me, still waiting for me to look at him. Later, after the dishes were washed and the leftovers boxed, I went upstairs. Past the bathroom, past my old room, to Clara's door. It was closed. I stood there for a long time, not breathing, then I walked away. Because the truth was, yes, I still missed her, but that wasn't what was keeping me up at night. It was supposed to be a casual night, just rehearsal drinks, small talk, laughter that felt forced. Everyone pretending like we weren't 1 week away from tying something permanent to a name we could never take back. I stood at the bar sipping club soda when my cousin Drew leaned against the counter next to me. He smelled like cheap bourbon and too much cologne. His tie was loose, his grin lazy. "You nervous?" he asked. I shrugged. "Normal nervous. You look great." "Thanks." Then he tilted his head and said it casually, stupidly, like it was just a trivia question. "Didn't Finn date Clara once?" I froze. The glass nearly slipped out of my hand. He didn't notice. He was already scanning the room, lifting his chin at the bartender. I swallowed carefully. "What did you say?" He glanced back at me. "Clara, your sister, right? Pretty sure they used to hang out, like years ago." "Wasn't it him?" "No," I said too fast. "They were just friends." He nodded slowly. Right, must be thinking of someone else." I turned away before he could see my face. Finn was across the room, laughing with his best friend Patrick, one hand casually resting on the back of a chair like he owned the whole damn night. Jess appeared at my side. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." I stared down into my drink. "Sam." "Nothing." But my hands were shaking. Later in the car, I asked Finn, "Did you ever date Clara?" He blinked like he hadn't heard me. "What?" "Clara, my sister. Did anything ever happen between you two?" He laughed. "We were kids. It didn't mean anything." That wasn't a no. He reached for my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't feel it either. I was looking for batteries. That's all. Finn had left the remote dead on the coffee table, and I didn't feel like digging through the junk drawer in the kitchen, so I wandered into the guest room, the one he'd claimed as his office, and started opening drawers. Top drawer, pens, a half-used notebook, gum wrappers. Middle drawer, phone chargers, a checkbook, 2 rolls of quarters. Bottom drawer stuck a little. I pulled harder. And there it was, Clara's music box. The lavender one with the chipped rose decal on top. The one she'd kept on her nightstand since she was 9. The one that used to play that haunting little melody when you twisted the bass, slow, sad, unfinished. I hadn't seen it since before she died. It wasn't something you'd forget. I picked it up with both hands carefully. My fingers fit the way they always had, like they remembered. I opened it. The song creaked out, slower than I remembered. Dust danced off the hinges. The ballerina inside spun once, twice, and then stopped. "Where did you get this?" I asked as soon as Finn came into the room. He looked at it, then at me. His face didn't register it right away, then it did too quickly. "Oh, I thought it was yours." "It's not." He smiled a little too easily. "You must have left it here once." "I didn't." "Are you sure?" I could have sworn. I closed the lid. The song choked off. He laughed. "That thing's ancient." "It was Clara's." He froze for just a second, then nodded, too casual. "Right, that's probably why I thought it was yours. You two had so much of the same stuff back then." "Back then." I placed the box on the desk, walked past him without saying another word. I didn't find the batteries, but I found something else. Something I didn't know I was looking for. I wasn't supposed to be at the bachelor party. Obviously. But Patrick was drunk, and drunk people forget who's standing behind them. I had dropped off Finn's jacket. He'd left it in the backseat of my car after dinner, and he had that big toast planned at the brewery. He insisted he didn't need it, but I brought it anyway. The party was in full swing by the time I got there, music too loud, guys shouting over one another, beer bottles clinking like weapons. I walked in through the side gate, stayed close to the hedges, found Patrick first. He was standing by the fire pit with 2 other guys I barely recognized. His face was flushed, eyes glassy, that smug smile he always wore melting into something loose and sloppy. "You were acting strange that night," one of them said. I froze. Patrick laughed. "What when Clara?" He stopped himself, caught it midair. The other guy leaned in. "What happened back then anyway?" Patrick waved his bottle like a wand. Finn was he was willing, willing to go further than we thought. "Further how?" Another laugh, this one too sharp. Patrick took a long drink, then muttered, "Clara never saw it coming." I didn't breathe. They moved on to another story, something about college, someone getting arrested. But I was already backing away. Careful not to be seen. Careful not to run. When I got to the car, I sat in the driver's seat with my hands gripping the wheel and my heartbeat pounding like it wanted out. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring at the jacket on the passenger seat, wondering if Finn even remembered that I knew how to listen through walls. I was running through the woods. Or maybe I was sinking. Everything was dark. Not pitch black, more like the blue haze of a dying flashlight, the kind that flickers right before it gives up. I wasn't wearing shoes. My feet hit dirt, then leaves, then something wet. I kept running. There were trees, tall and silent, watching me. The wind whispered my name, Samantha. Then louder, Sam. Then it wasn't the wind. It was Clara. I turned. She was standing just behind me, barefoot too, her nightgown soaked at the hem like she'd walked through something cold to reach me. Her hair was tangled, her face blurred almost. She didn't blink. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her hand lifted. She pointed at something behind me. I turned again, a shovel, a fresh mound of dirt, a box, wooden, old, buried shallow. The earth was loose around it. I stepped closer. The box was already open. Inside, the ring, not mine, not the one Finn gave me, Clara's, the one we buried with her. I looked down at my hands. They were covered in soil. The kind that gets under your nails and never comes out. I turned to Clara. Her mouth finally moved, but it wasn't my name, it was his. Finn. Then the scream started, not hers, mine. I woke up with the sheets soaked through, my nightgown clinging to my back, breath caught halfway between a gasp and a sob. I didn't move. I just stared at the ceiling and whispered. It was just a dream. But I wasn't sure if I believed that. She said it like she was afraid of saying it, like the words might tear something open. You're acting like you did when Clara died. I looked up from my coffee. My mother didn't meet my eyes. She was rearranging the sugar packets in the holder, even though they were already lined up perfectly. I didn't say anything. She kept going. You get quiet and sharp, like you're watching for something no one else can see. I set the mug down. She finally looked at me, her lips pressed together like she regretted starting. I'm not accusing you, she said. I know that look. I forced a smile. It's just wedding stress. You don't believe that. I leaned back in the chair. Then what do you think it is? She hesitated. And in that pause, I could see everything she wasn't saying, all the grief she'd turned into wallpaper, all the questions she'd buried beneath casseroles and wedding checklists. She said, maybe some things are better left alone. There it was, the family mantra. I stood up slowly. That's the problem, Mom. We always leave it alone. We act like silence is healing when it's just hiding. She flinched. I'm not going crazy, I said. I'm not fragile. And I'm not going to stand here pretending Finn is perfect just so we don't have to remember who he was to Clara. My mother's hands trembled. She clasped them together tightly in her lap. She's gone, Samantha. She shouldn't be. She didn't answer. And I didn't wait. I walked out, not slamming the door, not running, just walking, steady, loud enough to remind her that silence didn't work on me anymore. It started with a lie. He said he was heading to the gym. Spin class at 7. Said it like it was routine, like I hadn't already memorized the exact way his shoulders move when he's hiding something. I waited 20 minutes after he left. Then I grabbed my keys. Didn't tell anyone, didn't grab a coat, just followed. I kept my headlights off until I was half a block behind him. My hands were steady on the wheel, too steady. Rain started halfway through the drive, not heavy, just enough to blur the windshield, make everything outside shimmer. He didn't turn toward the gym. He kept driving, past the shopping plaza, past the library, past the turnoff to his office. I followed him all the way to the edge of town, to the lake road I hadn't driven in years, not since Clara. My stomach twisted. He turned left down the gravel trail that snaked behind the lake. The same trail search teams had combed the night she went missing. I pulled over before the bend, waited until his brake lights disappeared into the trees. Then I killed the engine and followed on foot. The woods were silent. Just the soft crush of wet leaves under my boots, the whisper of wind slipping through trees like secrets. I kept my distance, didn't call his name, didn't even breathe too loud. I could see his silhouette ahead, flashlight in one hand, something heavy in the other. Then he stopped, right at the clearing behind the ridge, the place they never searched properly because of the storm, the place I'd always felt in my gut was wrong. He knelt, started digging. I stepped behind the nearest tree, clutched the bark until my knuckles ached, and watched. The woods were quieter than I remembered, not peaceful quiet, heavy quiet, the kind that presses against your ribs. That makes the air feel thick, like even the trees were holding their breath. I crouched low behind a trunk slick with moss, my breath fogging in the air. Finn stood at the edge of the old forest trail behind the lake, flashlight balanced on a rock, casting a soft, yellow arc over the ground. I hadn't been back here since the search, since Clara. My legs ached, but I didn't move. He dug slowly, methodically, like he knew exactly how far down to go, like he'd done it before. The shovel made soft thuds against the earth. Damp dirt piled beside him. The rain had stopped, but the soil was loose, easy to disturb. The light caught his face. Focused, calm, too calm. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. But he didn't look up. He kept digging. And then, the sound changed. Metal against wood. I leaned forward just a little. He knelt again, used his hands this time, brushed the dirt away in wide, practiced motions. And there it was, a box, not big, about the size of a shoebox. Old from the looks of it, wood swollen slightly from moisture, corners rounded, no lock. He didn't open it right away. He just sat there for a moment, staring at it, breathing. Then he lifted the lid and smiled, not a big smile. Just the corner of his mouth, like something inside had confirmed what he wanted to believe. I clamped my hand over my mouth, because in that second, I knew whatever was in that box. It wasn't for me, it never had been. He opened the box like it was something sacred. Careful, slow, like the contents might bruise if he moved too fast. From where I crouched, I couldn't see everything. Just the way his shoulders shifted forward, the way his hands hovered for a second, almost tender, before reaching in. He pulled out a ribbon first, faded pink, frayed on one edge. Clara's. I knew it without needing a closer look. She used to wear it in her braid when we were kids. Lost it once at camp and cried for 2 hours until Mom found it in the laundry bag. She hadn't worn it since high school. It was buried with her. Next, he pulled out a small book. Leather-bound, dark green. I blinked hard, it couldn't be. He flipped it open. I saw my handwriting, not recent, not neat. My childhood diary? The one with the flower sticker on the inside cover. The one I lost the summer I turned 13. I thought I left it at school, never found it. I watched Finn hold it in his hands like it was treasure, like it meant something. Like I had meant something even back then. Then he reached in again and pulled out the ring. My stomach dropped, not my engagement ring. Clara's, the one we placed on her finger in the casket. The one Mom insisted on keeping in the family, so she'll be buried with love. But it wasn't buried anymore. It was here in his hands. In a box he'd buried himself. I almost stepped out, almost screamed, almost ran, but I didn't. Because I couldn't move. Not when everything inside me was tearing open. Not when every breath hurt. Not when I realized I had no idea who I was marrying or what else he might have kept buried. I didn't remember moving. 1 second I was behind the tree, knees burning from crouching too long, breath caught somewhere between my throat and my spine, and the next I was running. Branches slapped against my arms. Wet leaves slid under my boots. I didn't care if he heard. I just needed to get away from that box, from the ribbon, from the diary, from the ring that should have been buried with Clara. The rain had stopped, but everything dripped. My hair clung to my face. My breath came out ragged, slicing through the silence like a warning I was too late to hear. Samantha. His voice, too close, too calm. I stumbled, caught myself on a root, kept going. Samantha, is that you? Not shouted, not confused, curious, like he'd been expecting me. I darted between trees, heart hammering so loud I could barely hear my own footsteps. I didn't look back, but I could feel him behind me. I could feel him watching. Samantha. This time the voice was different, sharper. Wrong. It wasn't the Finn I knew. It wasn't the man who made me tea when I couldn't sleep or kissed my wrist absent-mindedly when I handed him the remote. It was flat, like someone trying to remember how he used to sound. I ran harder. The clearing opened ahead. The parking lot, my car. I fumbled the keys from my coat pocket with shaking hands, nearly dropped them, shoved one into the lock, flung the door open. And then I froze. The passenger seat. Empty, except for something that hadn't been there before. My ring. The one Finn gave me the day he proposed. Sitting in the center of the seat, like a placeholder, like a warning. I didn't hear him approach. But I heard him breathe, right behind me. I turned slowly. He was standing no more than 5 feet away. Calm, dry somehow, even though I was soaked to the bone. He didn't look surprised to see me, didn't look angry, just present. Like this was a meeting we'd scheduled. He tilted his head slightly. You ran. I didn't answer. I gripped the car door like it was the only thing tethering me to the ground. His eyes flicked to the ring on the seat, then back to me. You dropped that, he said softly. I stared at him, the man I loved. The man I thought I loved. He took a step closer. I didn't move. You shouldn't be out here, he said. My voice came out rough. Why was my diary in that box? He smiled, small, too polite. You don't remember writing it. I was 12. You were honest. Another step, I backed into the open car door. He didn't stop. You saw me, I said. He nodded. I thought you might. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled something out. The ribbon, Clara's, he held it between two fingers like it was weightless, like it didn't mean anything. You kept her things, I said. No, he said. You did. I blinked, what? He stepped forward again, and this time I could see it. The shift. His shoulders changed first like a slouch folding into a square, then his eyes suddenly too still. The tone of his voice softened, dropped into something I hadn't heard before. I never wanted it to be like this, Sam. But it wasn't his voice. It wasn't the Finn who kissed me goodnight and left notes on my mirror. It was someone else entirely, something else. I slammed the car door between us. He didn't flinch, just stood there, looking at me like we'd never met. He followed me home like nothing happened, drove behind me the whole way, kept 2 car lengths between us like he was being courteous, like he hadn't just pulled my past out of the dirt. I locked the door behind me the second I got inside. Double bolt, chain. Then I stood there in the hallway, soaked through, heart racing, shoes still muddy on the tile. He knocked exactly once, softly. Sam, he said, can we talk? I didn't answer, he waited. Another knock, gentle, patient. Not a man who just buried something. Not a man who had Clara's ribbon in his coat pocket. Just Finn, the version he wore for everyone else. I opened the door just enough to see his face. He smiled. I wanted to check on you. You shouldn't have followed me. I was worried. You scared me. His expression shifted, hurt, wounded, perfectly calculated. I didn't mean to. I just thought you'd remember. Remember what? He tilted his head. The diary, Clara, the promise. What promise? You don't remember, he said, more to himself than to me. That's okay. Sometimes you forget when it hurts too much. He touched the doorframe gently, like he needed grounding. I never wanted you to find the box, not yet. Why was it there, I asked. Why any of it? He didn't answer right away. Then, because I needed you to see how deep this goes. The way he said it, soft, almost loving, made my skin crawl. I forced myself to nod, pretended to calm, pretended to breathe. Do you want to come in? I asked. He smiled wider, always. I opened the door fully, let him step inside, and pretended I didn't see the stranger behind his eyes. I didn't sleep. Not that night, not after letting him in. He sat on the couch like it was just another evening, like nothing had happened. Like we weren't both soaked in the silence of things we wouldn't say out loud. I made tea, poured 1 cup, brought it to him, then went upstairs and locked my bedroom door. Listened to the sound of him moving around downstairs, calm, easy. He didn't knock again. He just waited. Eventually, I heard the front door close. The click of it was louder than I expected. He left. Or at least his body did, but his presence didn't. I called Patrick the next morning. I didn't plan what I'd say. I just needed him to answer. He did. Second ring. Hey, Sam, he said, voice thick like he'd just woken up. Everything okay? No. Silence, then okay, what's going on? I need to talk to you, in person. He hesitated. Is this about Finn? You know it is. More silence. Then a sigh. I shouldn't say anything. Too late. We met at a diner near the highway. The kind with cracked leather booths and a jukebox that hadn't worked since 1994. He looked worse than I expected. Bloodshot eyes. Shirt wrinkled, a jittery leg that never stopped bouncing. I don't know what he told you, he started. He didn't have to tell me anything. I followed him to the woods. His face went pale. He dug something up, I said, a box. My diary, Clara's ribbon, her ring. Patrick's mouth opened, but no words came out. He ran a hand through his hair, shaky, almost nauseous. I didn't know he kept it, he whispered. Jesus. I thought he burned everything. What did you do, Patrick? He looked at me, and for a second I thought he might lie, but then his eyes broke. I didn't think it would go that far, he said. I leaned forward, cold creeping up my spine. Go how far? Patrick's voice cracked. She found out. Clara. He nodded. She knew he wasn't okay, that he wasn't right. And she said she'd tell your parents. She said she was going to expose him. He covered his mouth with his hand. And then, just above a whisper, and then she was gone. I felt the booth shift beneath me, like gravity changed its mind. Patrick wouldn't meet my eyes. He stared at his hands like if he looked anywhere else, something inside him would fall apart for good. I said, tell me exactly what happened. He shook his head slowly. I only know part of it, and even that I've been trying to forget. I didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move. Patrick spoke like someone remembering something they swore they'd never say aloud. Clara told him she knew that something was wrong with him, that he'd crossed a line. What lines? She said he was obsessed with you. My stomach turned. She caught him in your room once, reading your diary. This was years before he proposed, before he even told you he liked you. I gripped the edge of the table. Patrick went on. She confronted him, said it wasn't normal, that he was hiding something. He was. Patrick looked up finally. His eyes were rimmed red. I think he loved both of you in some twisted way, but not at the same time. It was like he split. I swallowed hard. He told me Clara was gone, just gone, he whispered. No accident, no goodbye, just gone, and I didn't ask questions. You helped him. I helped cover it up. He looked like he was going to be sick. I was scared, he said. Of him, of what he might do next. He begged me not to say anything, said she ran away, but he was too calm, too normal, like he'd made peace with something. I stared at him, all those years, all the silence. All the dinners with Finn smiling across the table like he hadn't buried my sister in pieces. You knew, I whispered. I suspected. You knew. He didn't argue, didn't defend himself. He just nodded. And for the first time since Clara died, I cried. I started watching him like a scientist studies a specimen. Not a fiancé, not even a stranger, just a subject. I kept notes. Mornings when his voice was warm, steady, almost boyish, I marked with a check. Evenings when he stood too still in the kitchen, staring out the window without blinking, I circled. Sometimes he was sweet, soft-spoken. The version of him I thought I was marrying. But then he'd shift. And it wasn't just mood, it was posture, gaze, even the cadence of his footsteps down the hall. I'd ask, "What do you want for dinner?" And the answer would change, not based on taste but tone. The voice wasn't quite his, the smile didn't reach his eyes. One night I tested it. "I miss Clara," I said, standing at the sink, back turned. There was a pause behind me. Then he said, "She shouldn't have gone." Not died, gone, I turned. He was just standing there, still, calm. That night I watched him sleep. He mumbled in his dreams. Names, fragments, my name, Clara's. Once he said, "Don't tell her." I didn't sleep after that. I started cataloging patterns. Which Finn left his shoes by the door. Which Finn wrote love notes on the fridge. Which Finn didn't speak for hours. The thing that broke me wasn't the silence. It was the way he looked at my reflection in the mirror some mornings, confused. Like he didn't know who I was, like he was trying to remember. Or worse, trying to forget. Two Finns, at least two, maybe more, one who mourned Clara, and one who destroyed her. I didn't know which one loved me. But I knew which one buried the box. The diary was heavier than I remembered. Maybe it was just the weight of everything it held now. I sat on my bedroom floor with it in my lap, fingers hovering over the first page like I was afraid it might burn. Dark green leather, a worn sticker peeling at the corner, my name scrawled on the inside cover in glitter pen. Samantha Grace Avery, keep out. 12-year-old me thought 3 exclamation marks would keep secrets safe. I turned the pages slowly. At first it was normal. Entries about math homework, how Clara stole my lip gloss, a crush on someone named Ethan who wore too much Axe spray. Then it shifted. I found an entry from August, dated just weeks before Clara died. Clara said I should stop letting Finn in my room when no one's home. She said it's not right, the way he talks to me. She said he used to look at her like that too. My hands started to shake. Another entry, September. He told me I was better than her. Sweeter. He said Clara didn't understand him. Clara says she's going to tell Mom and Dad. I told her she's jealous. But something in her face scared me. I didn't remember writing any of it. But it was my handwriting, all of it. The swirl in my G's, the way I dotted my Is with tiny stars. I turned the page. Clara's acting weird now. She keeps checking on me at night. She said she found something in Finn's car. She didn't say what, but she looked pale. I think I made a mistake. I flipped faster now, desperate. The last page stopped me cold. It was written in red pen. Sloppier, like I'd rushed. If something happens to me. Look in the woods, behind the lake, where the trees bend toward the water. I stared at the page so long the words started to blur. It wasn't paranoia. It was memory. And the girl who tried to warn me wasn't a ghost. She was me. I asked him to meet me at the lake. Told him I wanted to revisit where we first kissed. Told him I wanted to talk. He didn't hesitate. Of course he didn't. The sun was setting when I parked, the sky melting into orange and ash. I wore Clara's ribbon in my hair. I wanted him to see it. I wanted to see who saw it. I walked ahead of him down the trail. Same one I'd followed him through that night. Every tree looked darker now, every shadow knew too much. He caught up easily, his breath was steady, his footsteps silent. "Romantic," he said softly. I didn't respond. We reached the clearing. The ground still raw from the box he unearthed. I turned to face him. He smiled. "So, what did you want to say?" I looked him in the eye. "I forgive you." The smile faltered just slightly. "I know everything, Finn." His head tilted. "What do you mean?" "Clara, the diary, the box, the ribbon." He blinked, took a step back. "No," he said. Then softer, "No, you said you forgave me." "I do." He looked confused, hurt, then something changed. Like a light switched off behind his eyes. His voice deepened, colder now. "She shouldn't have looked through my things." He wasn't talking about me anymore. He was talking about Clara. "You said you loved her." "I loved you." His hands curled into fists. "She didn't get it. She always took everything from me. She was my sister. She knew." His face twisted, two expressions battling, grief and fury. "She said she'd ruin everything. Said she'd tell your mom, she promised. And so you killed her." He froze then. "No," he whispered. Then again louder, "No, I tried to stop her. She ran, she fell, I didn't push her. I was trying to explain." His breathing turned ragged. "I buried the ring so she'd have something, so she'd still be part of it. You proposed to me with her gone." "I loved you," he snapped. "I still do." The wind picked up. He stepped toward me, but this time I didn't step back, because I wasn't here to run. And neither of them's, not the version who mourned Clara, not the one who made her disappear, had any power left. "I'm not scared of you anymore," I said. And for the first time since Clara died, I saw him flinch. I called the police that night. My hands were steady, my voice wasn't. I told them everything about the diary, the ribbon, the box in the woods. I told them where to find it, what was inside, who put it there, how long it had been waiting. I didn't tell them about the voice that changed, the shift in his posture, the man who looked like my fiancé but moved like a stranger. They wouldn't understand that part. They didn't need to. They came with flashlights and plastic gloves and soft voices that made my skin crawl. I led them down the same path I had followed alone. The trees didn't speak. The ground gave easily. One of them, a younger officer, maybe new, lifted the box out like it might bite him. He opened it slowly and said nothing. He didn't need to. The look on his face said enough. Patrick was arrested that night. They found phone records, text messages, things he never deleted. He didn't run, didn't fight. He looked almost relieved. Finn was harder. They didn't cuff him, they didn't need to. He was quiet when they came, didn't ask questions, didn't cry, just sat on the steps and waited. He looked up when I stepped outside. "Do you remember now?" he asked. I didn't answer. They took him into psychiatric custody. Said something about observation. Said more I didn't hear. It wasn't victory. It wasn't closure. It was grief and weight and cold air that didn't warm no matter how many coats I wore. But it was over. At least the part where I pretended not to know. The wedding was supposed to be today. I sat on Clara's old piano bench, the one tucked into the corner of my parents' living room, where sunlight used to spill in during late afternoons. She used to sit here after school, legs swinging, fingers pressing hesitant notes like she was teaching the keys to trust her. I ran my hand over the lid. It was closed, just like her door still was upstairs. Just like her case used to be, except not anymore. The police asked if I wanted it back, the box. The diary, the ribbon, the ring, I took none of it. I didn't want a shrine to my survival. I wanted silence. Real silence. Not the kind we wrapped around secrets for years, not the kind we used to bury grief, but the kind that comes after the pretending, after the lies, after the man I was supposed to marry was revealed to be something else entirely. I still see her sometimes, Clara, not as a ghost, not even in dreams, but in echoes, the way I second-guess my own memories, the way I flinch at footsteps I recognize too late, the way I hear her name when no one says it. Everyone said I was paranoid. They said it was just nerves, cold feet, wedding stress, but I remembered. I remembered enough to follow him, to watch him dig, to listen to my younger self when no one else did. I wasn't paranoid. I was paying attention. And today I sat at the piano bench alone. No dress, no ring, no vows, just one truth: Clara didn't get to walk away. But I did. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.